What up, everybody? It's your boy Pyro Slays Music. We have found a cool day here in August, finally. This building, even with the new AC I got, has been cooking, so things have been a little slow because I'm trying to jump into those cold spots. But today, it's nice, and it's a four-wheel vibe. That's for Chuck. Shout out to him. Today, we're checking out the four-wheel vibe by Bracket. I have no clue how this reaction is going to go. I didn't really enjoy what album was that I checked out, and I can't remember the name of it. The more stuff I check out, the harder it is to remember all of it. You know what I mean? Name-wise. I'll hear it come on. I'm like, oh, yeah. Novelty Forever. So this dropped, obviously, 2025 was the remaster, but 95. Yes, 95, and so before Novelty Forever. Very curious to see how this goes. I'm excited because I really did enjoy that Novelty Forever after a bit. It did take a couple listens. I'm not going to act like it did not. But on first listen, I was like, this is not my thing. But there was like one or two songs that kept, popping up in my head. And I returned to those, fell in love with those, then fell in love with the rest of the album. And then I was able to do the album review on my specifically music talking channel, Pyro Slays Music. Now, let's shut the hell up and jump into this. I'm not sure how I'm going to play through all of this. But we're just going to send it. See, I don't know if I'm going to give individual ratings. I haven't really been doing that a whole lot on entire album reactions, because then it just kind of feels like I'm listing off the reaction, and it's on a reaction, especially, again, with this kind of band, stuff changes. But I will give my overall opinion and rating at the end of the album. Probably with some ratings sprinkled in, let's be honest, because I'm going to forget. Circus Act. Let's get it.
Please look at me now. Look at all the things I do, and I won't pay attention to you. I hope I can gather a crowd. Everyone should know I'm at my happiest. After and shade on top of my big head, my circus isn't dead. My nose is turning red. I want you to, I want you to, I want you to, I want you to, I want you to notice me right now. Please look at me, please look at me, please look at me, please look at me, please look at me when I show you how. When I look out to the crowd, I'm blinded by my arrogance. There's no one out there to arouse. Everyone should know I'm at my happiest with the red shade on top of my big head. My circus isn't dead. My nose is turning red. I want you to, I want you to, I want you to, I want you to, I want you to notice me right now. Please look at me, please look at me, please look at me, please look at me, please look at me when I show you how. Please look at me now. Look at all the things I do.
right, so let's start with the negatives for me on that initial track. I think I wasn't a huge fan of the choppiness of that chorus and the repetition of like the words kind of being just drilled in. But I liked everything else about this song. I liked the kind of, it was interesting. It was like, it had its grungy moments in there, and I actually appreciated the slowdowns more than the speed. But it also kind of had this like tinge of like, I'm not saying like full blown pop punk or what you think of when you think pop punk, but I'm saying like Green Day, maybe their older stuff, like kind of some brevity there, if that makes any sense. So I'm a little confused with that first track. So let's go. I think it's like a 5.8 maybe for me initially, but I'll come back to that one for sure because I really did like everything else besides the chorus, realistically. Cool. Hey. There was parts of that song, I don't have lyrics up or anything, but it almost sounded like maybe he was dealing with an alcoholic. I need a little bit more to get me through the day, but then he was singing about what he wants on a slushie, I think. Does he have an alcohol slushie? Is that a thing? I'm curious about that. That's all. So that one I think is closer to a 6 for me. I actually, again, okay, not again because this is different. I'd say the slowdown in the chorus was a little off-putting to my ears, but everything else flowed really nice. And again, I'm getting that Green Day with like a huge dash of grunge, like almost. I don't know if I'd go Nirvana style grunge, but like in that realm of things, right? And I can't say it's bad at all. I'm liking the swap ups we have instrumentally thus far. Some unique things happening, but I will say this is kind of so far, 2 tracks in. It's kind of it's kind of in line with a lot of earlier 90s punk that I've heard. Let's put it that way. I would say comparatively to Novelty Forever, maybe the progression of what they wanted from their own sound isn't quite there, but obviously we still have a lot of album before I start making judgments like that. Happy to be sad.
I'm happy to be sad. I'm happy to be sad. I'm happy to be sad. I'm happy to be sad. I'm sad because I'm happy and I throw my cares away. I love to see the clouds when the sun is red. I'm happy to be sad. 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 I'm sad because I'm happy and I throw my cares away. I love to see the clouds when the sun is red. I'm happy to be sad. 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 I'm sad because I'm happy and I throw my cares away. I love to see the clouds when the sun is red.
I feel like I shouldn't have enjoyed that one as much as I did, but I kind of like the chaos there. The drums were kind of at a different level than everything else. Like you thought everything was loud, but then the drums hit, and you're like, holy hell, those things are loud. But it just gave the whole thing a different feel. Guitar-wise, I think it is. I think it's guitar-wise that I'm getting a lot of those Green Day vibes, especially on that track. This one's going to go on a playlist. I don't even care. I think I enjoyed the sound overall. So, like, even just, no, we're 4 songs in. I can't just be throwing out all these kind of crazy judgments right off the rip. But I do stick with what I've said so far, about what I'm hearing. Just I don't want to make, assumptions about where this album's going before we get there. That's better. That's worded better. John Wilkes, Isolation Booth.
Every time I look inside myself, I'm my only friend. I try to put my feelings on a shelf so that I fade away. There's a crowd around me and I don't feel the land safe. I wish that I could disappear and leave without a trace.
like that little I like that little bit at the end there. Honestly, this song overall is enjoyable to me, and like I was listening to this and I'm like, I could totally see this being on like a Tony Hawk Pro Skater soundtrack. And since Tony Hawk 3 and 4 remastered just dropped recently, which has been pretty fun. The soundtrack is, you know what I mean? It's okay. It's got some stuff on it that's good, but it's also definitely not anything compared to 1 and 2. For you guys, some fun. If you had to pick one song off of this album to be represented in a Tony Hawk game, which would it be? Kudos for not being the biggest track on the song or from the band. I'm not sure if there's, tracks on here that are super huge or not for them. Points for like a higher energy or, a good tempo. I feel like Tony Hawk always had, it's kind of light, but also it could be gritty, that street feel, but at the same time, like it's like a little bit of, the tempo is, I think, really important when you're making those kind of playlists. So just for fun, let me know which song you would put on that. So it can't just be your favorite track off the album. It's got to be specifically for Tony Hawk if you were a playlist maker or something. So have some fun, guys. Let me know which one it would be. Maybe I'll add it to my playlist as well. For the I make my own playlist when I do Tony Hawk. So Tractor is the next one. This vibe is just all over the place. I'm getting like almost like a surf punk vibe to it, but not quite that far into the surf thing. But yeah, it's very odd. Like there's a combination of things, and at times I want to think like, oh, this might be a little generic for the style. Like, you know what I mean? Like it sounds like your typical skate punk, but there's just a little bit more added to it that kind of separates it for me. Even for the influences that I'm hearing, there's still some unique stuff in there that's like really making it its own, at least for me personally. But yeah, let's keep going. Okay, real quick, since this is Tractor and the last one almost had this like, I was like the first three were a lot more in that like surfy sound, in my opinion. But like John Wilkes' Isolation Booth, there was that part at the end there that kind of sounded a little country-ish for, what a punk song would be. And then right off the rip, I'm getting that vibe with Tractor as well. So maybe my head was just in the wrong place with the first three. Maybe it's more of like a little bit of a little that, I don't know. Country? I'm getting like Sister Hazel vibes in this so far. That might be my favorite one so far. Easy. Like, I just like the whole vibe. I was like, all right, so I grew up on not, it was a farm. It was a farm. We didn't do a whole lot of like crop farming, obviously. It was more like animal style farming. So like we had, lots of chickens. We had some pygmy goats. Occasionally we had some cattle or pigs, but we had sheep for like the longest time. So there was a lot of us driving the tractor around to unload manure or whatever, right? And like a lot of times I was driving around on the tractor. I'd have my no skip Walkman CD player, headphones in, and that son of a bitch does skip. I don't care what they say. You hit a bump hard enough, it skips. And I would be jamming like Megadeth or Maiden, and I was like, this song, maybe it's just because it's called Tractor, it kind of branded that in my head of like remembering that, a lot of the times driving the tractor around. I was like 15 or 16, and it was like on property, so it was like never on the road or anything. I could 100% see myself jamming to this while I was just like driving that around. Good times. Green apples. Now let's go with dude. I'm gonna go with a 7 on that just because I really enjoyed it, and it brought a nostalgic memory to the brain. So I appreciate that. And a lot of times, it's when you listen to so many songs, like when you're just like doing what I'm doing, recording my musical journey basically, and still listening to stuff on the side from that. Yeah, I don't know. I should shut up and get back into the music. It's probably what I should do. I'm tangenting, and Chuck's not even here to blame. Green Apples, Trailer Park. I'm looking at the songs coming up here. Fresh Air, G Vibe, Warren's song, 2 hot dogs for 99 cents. What is happening? These names are hilarious. Green Apples, let's go. I'm gonna be honest with you guys on that one. Not a fan of that. I didn't like where the guitars were. They kind of at first, I was really enjoying that tempo, but the guitars really got boring after a bit. Not after a bit, almost rather quickly. And then the vocals, the way the whine, it just wasn't doing it for me. This is like a 3.5, and it might just because it was coming after Tractor, and Tractor is should be the biggest hit so far on this album for sure, guys. I have spoken. Closed captioned. I have never been so confused. That song was like a really good song that put on that dressed up as a mid song for Halloween. Very confused here because there's parts of this that are just fantastic. I love the lyrics. I could really probably relate to those actually. The tone shifts and just in general, like the swap ups here were really unique. But there was, and like the chorus, there was just parts of the song that were just kind of an earworm. And I'm like, this is a banger. But then there's a lot of time too in the song where I was like, yeah, this is a pretty mid song. I'm very, 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 very confused by that one. We're going to go with a 5.9 it's going to go in a playlist for sure until I figure out what the hell's going on with that one. That was, maybe it was just like inconsistent. This first off, I feel like this album is consistently inconsistent. Very, very interesting. I like it. That'll probably go up for sure, but we're going to give it a safe first timer rating of a 5.9. Trailer Park. Let's see if we can learn about Chuck's culture. Love you, Chuck. I don't even know what to say about that one. That was a roller coaster of emotions for me. Initially, I was like, this kind of sounds like a bastardized Ramones song. And then further it progressed, I was like, it's like they wrote the song at different periods of listening to different music. I felt like there was some Ramones in there with the tempo and like, especially towards the beginning. But then there was like, it was like the band listened to a lot of Weezer and Green Day. And then they were like, okay, no, let's be serious musicians here. And they listened to a bunch of art rock. And then they were just like, fuck it, we're just gonna go back to punk. But then they took some trap. There's like a lot of the weird swap ups are what I was like, that kind of reminded me of something you would hear in art rock, probably, more depth there, but still there was a very unique vibe to this whole thing. Very choppy. There was almost like some Pink Floydish sound effects going on there, and just like random parts I didn't see coming. Very confused here. I like it, though. I somehow came out liking it. But there were some ups and downs in that son of a gun. I'm going to go flat 6 here. No. That was, let's go 6.5. Let's go 6.5 because I really did enjoy the change-ups there and, like, yeah, I don't know. This one just felt really fresh. It also felt really familiar, too. Very cool. And speaking of fresh air.
It's hard for me to read your mind. I'm too afraid of what I'll find. All my sanity starts to sail away. The only thing that I know is that I don't really care. All I want is some fresh air. I'm tired of the games I play. I think that it's a fool's day. All my sanity starts to sail away. The only thing that I know is that I don't really care. All I want is some fresh air.
Rush.
It works every time. 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 All my sanity starts to sail away. The only thing that I know is that I don't really care. All I want is some fresh air.
I'll be honest. That one that kind of felt like a fluff track. It was alright, but I didn't feel like it was necessary for the album. So let's go with a 4.5 on that. Fluff songs. Boo fluff songs. Boo you. We're over halfway there though, so that's nice. And so far, it's not like super. I was really worried about this one. I don't know why, but I just haven't heard a whole lot of talk about Four Wheel Vibe. I just feel like there's a lot of times there's other bracket albums that are referenced. Which ones am I thinking that I always hear about? Obviously, the one we heard, Novelty Forever, but E is for Everything on Fat Records. I feel like I've heard referenced quite a bit, and I want to say Requiem, but I could be wrong. Let's see what PC is. My bad.
Never watched
All right. While I didn't really enjoy that song, I will say I do think the lyrics, it's kind of funny to hear a song in the 90s referencing, political correctness. I don't know if I really heard that until a little bit later in my life, and it was much more when I was involved, or when the internet was really popping, you know what I mean, social media-wise. That's where things really started to expedite, I guess. I know it was around, political correctness was used before that, but it's just funny. Like, you thought it was hard to keep up with then. Now it's super hard. And I mean, I'm like decently plugged in, and it's still like there's things that just, are always changing. Interesting. Don't know if I've really heard a whole lot of punk bands complain about political correctness. But I mean, it does make sense to some extent. Because, punk bands are naturally a little bit more edgy, first off. But it is funny because they might not be the most PC of people, but, they have a really solid community base, if that makes sense. So it's just interesting in general to hear an older band complaining that it's hard to keep up. I wonder how they're hanging now. The internet, they say it expediates everything. So it makes sense that, political correctness gets expedited as well. And, a lot of people can't envision a person being ignorant to that because they're very locked in on the internet. So it's created these odd divides. Some people not even meaning to be, offensive. They're just not caught up on the times. Oh, shit. G-Vibe.
I look out my window up into the sky and I wonder where it all comes from. It seems so harmless to me, but I can't help wondering how it affects someone. I won't mind if it goes away. It will come another day. I see the disasters on the television and sympathize for all the pain. I never thought so many lives would be ruined just because there is too much rain. But I won't mind if it goes away. It will come another day.
No. Not a fan of that one either. That felt like I don't know what I would classify that as, but yeah, not my. I found it a little boring, to be honest with you guys. Warren's song Part 4. I'm just saying, I don't know where the rest of this album's gonna go, but I am praying 2 hot dogs for 99 cents is a good song. I'm gonna be pissed. So pissed if it's a bad song. What's the Warren song? I feel like that's something the Vandals would have done. I'll be honest. And you guys know how I feel about the Vandals. So wasn't a fan of that one either. So far, this second half, has fallen flat on its face. Flat on its face. Let's see. 2 hot dogs. Come on now. Come on now. This has got to be a good one. All I got to say is bro's arteries are going to hate him. They are going to hate him. So they're just chowing down hot dogs, man. Ugh. Another one that I feel like, honestly, lyrically would fit a Vandal song. A lot of shenanigans. But it was in the middle ground for sure, if not a little under metal. Let's keep it moving. I don't think that would go in a playlist, but I think I like it in the scheme of the whole album. This one's another one that's kind of unique sounding. I like what they did with the vocals there. I could see that going in a playlist, though, honestly. But it really does add to the inconsistency of this album vibe-wise. I don't know what the hell kind of vibe was happening here. Clearly, Four-Wheeler Vibe is a mix of, like, all different kinds of stuff. But it's too chaotic. It's too chaotic. The Pessimist. Okay. That one, I think, while still probably in like the high fives, I did enjoy this comparatively, especially since to like the last 4 or 5 songs. We have one last track here, Lazy, and then I will break into my final thoughts for this album on first listen.
I wish I could go far away, where time moves too slow, day after day. And I'll sit and watch the clouds as they pass by. Always. And I'll sit and watch the clouds as they walk by. I have a fixation with laziness, procrastination is what I'll do best. And I'll sit and watch the clouds as they go by. Always. And I'll sit and watch the clouds as they walk by. Where has my ambition gone? I haven't seen it for so long. Am I a burden to I am so tired of everything. All my desire is vanishing away. And I'll sit and watch the clouds as they go by. Always. And I'll sit and watch the clouds as they walk by. And I'll sit and watch the clouds as they And I'll sit and watch the clouds as they
Okay. So we got about a minute.
My sad side has a gun. He shows me who's number one. He's aware of my welfare. He tells me he doesn't care. He never listened to me. He turned his mom against Which one of us is more guilty?
And for those of you who aren't familiar with the 90s, that's what you call a little secret song. A little secret song there added in the middle. So yeah, you had a little brief bit of silence there saying, hey, the CD's over. But if you wait, bam, it hits you with a little fireside sing-along thing going on there. Interesting, to say the least. I did enjoy this song. But man, weird, just the speed is... I don't know. I don't know if I would want that song at the very end of the album. It doesn't really matter because I probably won't listen to this front to back again. But there are several tracks in it that I'm going to put in a kind of my sort list to see how things pan out. So I'll just listen to it in the background, and if they start piquing my interest, those will get moved into my actual rotation of music that I'm listening to. I think I'm going to throw in Lazy Metal, Trailer Park, Closed Caption, Tractor, John Wilkes, Isolation Booth, Happy to Be Sad, Kool-Aid, and Circus Act. The first three, even though I was a little unsure, I think those going back won't be too bad. But not all of these tracks are obviously the ones I'm loving. I think the positives of this album are that if you're into some like chaotic but yet familiar style sounds, this will be enjoyable. It has some pretty solid songs in it for sure, but they're kind of few and far between. Negatives, I think the theme is really inconsistent. It's kind of all over the place. But again, if you like the chaos, which I kind of do, but I think it's worth mentioning that I do think it's all over the damn place in this album. That could be bothersome for you. I think there are a lot of familiar, like clear inspirations here that were just a little too familiar in the grand scheme of things. I did like that there were some experimental bits thrown in that, so it didn't wholly feel like a generic ripoff of their inspirations. But I still think there was a huge, I think I'd rather go listen to some of those bands that they were influenced from, sonically, than this. I do think there are several songs that will make a playlist, and just Tractor for sure. I like that one. I think Trailer Park was really cool, actually, going back. Weird, I can see Closed Caption popping off, too. So, definitely those three, I think, are probably my highlights from this album. I think as a whole, due to the inconsistency, the second half of the album really falling on its face and not recovering, and even the beginning leg of the album kind of being a little more choppy from what I found enjoyable and was meh about. I do think this album is probably going to fall in the bad category. Not horrible, but it definitely, I think it's under mid as a whole. There's still songs I'm going to jam along to with. There's still songs I'm going to enjoy. It's not all bad. But I think this is probably sitting around a like 4 or 8 for me. Yeah, I think there's like 3 songs that are guaranteed to go on playlist for me. And then those 9, the other 6 or whatever, they could go or stay. Who knows? And then the rest I just found very generic or filler tracks. I think if the album was a little more cut down to size, maybe a 12, 13 track album, I think this would have definitely been in closer, at least, to the good range, actually, or at least the high, 5s. But yeah, I think we're going to go with that 4.7, 4.8 area for myself. Now, regardless of how I felt about this, and I want to be clear here, I love the journey here. You're listening to what you find good or bad. It's all wholly based on a person's tastes. And I want to be clear that I think if you enjoy this band, you should definitely go out and support them, buy some merch. If they're still touring, make sure you try to catch them live and see what you think of them. Obviously, we don't all have money laying around. Check out their socials if they got any of those. I don't know if they're still, active or not, but if they are, you should definitely try to support musicians where you can, right? So I'm Pyro Slaves Music. This album is bad, sitting at a 4.8. Not feeling this four-wheel vibe, guys. But shout out to Bracket. Regardless, they had some interesting sounds going on here for sure. Peace out, y'all.